The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, good morning, everybody. It's Martin Reeves. Welcome to today's webinar. In the interest of letting a few more people join, we're going to pause for a couple of minutes. Again, appreciate your early attendance. We'll give it 2 more minutes and then we'll get underway. Hi, good morning. It's Martin once again. Seeing a few more people coming on, so again, just bear with us for maybe 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we'll get the webinar underway. Fantastic, good. Then good morning, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to today's webinar. My name's Martin Reeves. I am the Vice President of Strategy at Yellowfin. My absolute pleasure to be your host today for the Embedded Analytics in the Cloud webinar, brought to you by Yellowfin, by my company Yellowfin, and by our partner AWS. I'm joined today by Adrian White, who is a Solutions Architect in the AWS ISV team, also Dean Williamson, who is Head of Product Management and UX at Acendre, both close and long-term partners of Yellowfin. Fantastic, sorry, technical problem. Agenda. So in the next 30 minutes, for us is to get you all excited about the business possibilities of embedding Yellowfin in your applications and taking them to market on AWS. So whether you're here because you're under competitive pressure to improve your analytics, or because you can see revenue opportunities from analytics, or indeed your customers are expecting more from you in the area of analytics than you can deliver, I think we've got something of value for you. I'll start with a couple of introductions, then hand over to Adrian, then to Dean. We've got a couple of calls to action, and we'll close with, and you'll have plenty of time for this, to answer some questions and get some answers. So a little bit about Yellowfin. We are a local firm founded in 2003 in Melbourne. We operate globally today from 4 locations here, obviously, also in the US, in Europe, and in Japan. We're a very channels-focused business. So we talk about our ISV community. It's over 250 strong today, and through that channel, we can boast of over 25,000 companies and over 3 million users who are on the Yellowfin platform today. Second point here, super proud, very kind of hot off the press, very proud to say that our product has just been scored in the top 5 BI and analytics platforms in 2018, according to the Gartner Magic Quadrant critical capabilities criteria. And a lot of this is down to our high level of investment in R&D and high levels of innovation. The third point here, we're also very highly rated by BARC, BARC being the world's largest independent survey of BI users. Just a couple of words about our ISV customers. A sample here only of our ISVs, large and small, local and international, who have chosen to work with Yellowfin. You'll see some brands, well known to you. Could be the what am I thinking? BMC, Kodak, Sage, NTT up in Japan. I think today still have the largest Yellowfin running on the largest Redshift implementation in the world. But many others, and as I say, over 250 in total. And it's working with ISVs is where we shine. It's our major channel to market. And like AWS, we love working with software developers. Actually, we were one once at the very beginning and pivoted to analytics early on. But that's why when you get under the covers, you'll see that our platform is so well engineered for applications developers in terms of things like multi-tenancy, white labeling, scalability, and embedding. Combining with AWS was a natural for us. Not only do we use AWS internally, but so do many of our partners looking to get the same benefits as Acendre, who you'll hear from shortly. So with that brief introduction from me, let me now hand off to Adrian White, who's going to educate you on the big trends driving applications development at AWS. Adrian.
Thank you, Martin, and thanks everyone for joining. So we care deeply about our software developer community. We work very closely with businesses that are building software at scale and delivering that to their customers. And there are 3 sort of main themes that we hear in the local market. This is a global thing that we see too. And the first is how do software companies go faster and bigger? So how can they improve the velocity of their feature release cycle so that they can deliver features for their customers, delight their customers? And in terms of going bigger, how can they certainly acquire more customers and grow as a business, but in many cases, how can they go into other geographies? So how can they enter markets outside of, say, Australia? And having a truly global cloud like AWS makes that a lot easier. It removes the the barrier for entry for doing that. So we go to the next slide. Software systems that have been built over time inevitably become more and more complex, and it's a really tricky thing to manage. But anyone that's building software and delivering it will be thinking about technical debt. So over time, the idea of how do you simplify the systems that you run and remove the burden that comes about from acquiring complexity over time. And so lots of our ISV customers and software customers are taking advantage of some of our more managed services, our higher order services, to effectively delegate some of that complexity to AWS. So a great example would be a database environment. Rather than running your own Oracle environment, perhaps you may choose to run that on Aurora, which is a completely managed and scalable enterprise-grade database. So we think that the cloud, plays an important role in helping software companies remove this sort of technical debt and reduce complexity over time. The next slide. Insights is a big one. Having access to data to make decisions is critical, especially in the world of software at scale. And so analytics platforms that allow you to mine data and understand things like your customers and how they are using your software services is critical. And so throughout the rest of the presentation, we'll be focusing really in on this as a core topic. But we think that through the use of cloud and also innovative ISV partners like Yellowfin, you can deliver some pretty amazing insights. Next slide. So growth is at the core of any business, certainly any software business. And there are different ways of measuring growth. But I really like this quote, and I've linked to the source underneath it. Growth hurts, but only at first. And so what this is, I guess, trying to express is that building software and delivering that is complicated and usually requires a fairly heavy upfront investment in terms of time, but also cost to build out platforms and management systems to run software. And so the key differentiator here is thinking about using a platform that makes it really cheap to fail. We talk a lot about innovation and failure and the two being linked together. And we argue actually that you can't innovate without failing. So being able to do that quickly and easily, and in many cases cheaply, allows you to experiment and take the information that you learn from those failures and fail forward. So we think that this is a pretty interesting idea for companies that are building SaaS platforms on the cloud. Go to the next slide. Now, I wanted to cover off some of the big tech trends. I will highlight 4 of them here. I won't really talk about serverless or voice and mobile services, although they are trends that we're seeing in the local market. I'll spend most of my time talking about database, analytics, machine learning, and AI, and of course, make a comment about DevOps and microservices. So we go to the next slide. What this slide shows you is the world of artificial intelligence and machine learning as AWS currently sees it. And so if you look at the bottom here, we have a whole raft of frameworks and libraries that we support, in many cases optimized to run really quickly and efficiently in the cloud. And you will have come across some of these: TensorFlow, PyTorch, NXNet. We've bundled all of these up into something called a deep learning Amazon machine image, which is available on the AWS marketplace. And this makes it really easy to get started trying these libraries in a user-friendly Jupyter Notebook environment, so that you can try out your ideas. But above that, we have a platform service, something that we released fairly recently, and that's Amazon SageMaker. And so what SageMaker does is make it really trivial for you to, in a Jupyter Notebook environment, test out your algorithms, train models against data sets that you're acquiring, and then iterate like mad on those until you get the right machine learning algorithm and you train the right model. But what's really interesting about SageMaker is it lets you take that trained model and host that at scale in production. So what SageMaker is really doing is wrapping up the entire development lifecycle for building domain models and algorithms and hosting those for your customers. And so if you look right at the top here, the application services that we call out here, recognition, poly, lakes, and so on, are exactly that. They are pre-trained, hosted machine learning models behind an API that we expose as a service. And so you can pick and choose from any point in this stack and use libraries if you want to, interact with SageMaker if that's what you need to do, or just consume high-level APIs with powerful machine learning models behind them. We'll go to the next slide. One of the key trends when we're thinking about anything to do with insights is gathering data. And so it's a very common pattern now to host your heterogeneous data sets in the form of a data lake or data lakes and source that data from multiple locations. So here we have traditional on-premises data sources that have been moved into a cloud-based data lake. And we're also representing that we might have real-time data from sensors or IoT devices. But you get the idea. There's a disparate set of heterogeneous data sources, and you collect that in a data lake. But this is where interesting stuff happens, of course. Once you have access to this data behind APIs, you can then interrogate it. And so using things like machine learning, perhaps SageMaker from Amazon, or using analytics tools, for example, from Yellowfin, you can start getting some really interesting insights into the data that you're collecting. And in fact, Yellowfin are starting to do this. They are taking machine learning and expertise around training models and incorporating this seamlessly into the flows that you can set up inside of the Yellowfin analytics platform. So I think the marriage between machine learning and analytics is really powerful in an area where we're seeing a lot of development. If we go to the next slide, one of the things that a lot of our customers talk about is DevOps. This was quite an exciting idea several years ago, and I guess it's become pretty much sort of table stakes for delivering software at scale on the cloud. So as we all know, automation is absolutely the core of a successful DevOps strategy. But one thing that we've also learned is that for DevOps to be really successful, it has to be embraced fully. And what that means is it becomes embedded in the culture for how you build, test, deliver, and operate software. And so AWS has a raft of services from development environments through to testing and deployment, which really enhance the DevOps model that you might be embracing or deploying in your organization. We go to the next slide. And the final point that I wanted to make was around database and database modernization. We also call this freeing your database, but we're seeing a trend in our software customers where they are very quickly moving away from legacy database technologies. And they're doing that for a number of reasons. One of the big reasons, of course, is cost. So very large on-premises database deployments are expensive to maintain, but licensing can also be an inordinate cost that maybe doesn't make much sense anymore when you have access to more modern database technologies, but also more modern commercial models around how you can consume database technologies. So what we're seeing is a large number of customers moving from legacy database technologies on premises like SQL Server or Oracle, and moving those to the cloud, perhaps using Aurora. And we have tools to make that easy, to automate the process of moving to the cloud, but also we can even do schema conversions and do database to database migrations as well. We're seeing tens of thousands of databases being moved to the cloud for that reason. We'll just go to the next slide. What we're showing here is the breadth of the ecosystem. And I can't, I guess, overstate how important it is to be part of a very broad set of companies that are doing building software and delivering that on the cloud. You can be in this ecosystem, of course, but being part of it means that you can also leverage other tools and platforms that comprises that ecosystem. So if we go to the next slide, I call out different segments here. And so we have segments around monitoring, we have segments around metering and authentication. And of course, the reason you're listening to the webinar today is to think about analytics. And so, of course, we're highlighting Yellowfin here as one of our strong analytics partners. But what this ecosystem lets you do is plug in the right third-party solutions that make sense for your software and really let you focus on what is core to your business. Your customers are core to your business, and perhaps building analytics platforms or monitoring platforms from the ground up isn't core to your business. And so you can leverage those trusted and mature third-party solutions. All right, so if we go to the next slide, we're going to now dive a little bit deeper on insights. So I'd like to hand over to Dean from Acendre. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adrian. I appreciate that. So if we can go to the first slide, is what I'm going to do is go through the agenda, which is who and what is Acendre, our business transformation, and two case studies that we've currently got. So first of all, Acendre and Yellowfin have been in partnership for over 10 years. So it's been long-term, and we've worked together on many initiatives. And Acendre's mission or goal is to improve organisations' workforce performance by managing, people and cultures team via recruitment and onboarding and performance systems. This is all products that we've created that our customers use. How do we do that? Is that we have got analytics, we've got easy to use workflow engines, third-party integrations, and security. And just so people understand, is if we can go to the next slide, please, is that on annually we manage 2.6 million candidates interactions every year annually in APAC, and globally it's even larger than that. From what you can see is that we've got organisations from federal government to business, mining, non-for-profit, and also local governments. So we need to have a solution that can report and be able to distribute information in many different ways. Next slide, please. So probably about 4 years ago, we came to an impasse as an organisation. We had to make a decision of, do we proceed and keep on doing what we were doing, or do we actually transform as a business? And we did make that choice and chose to go with AWS. The reason being is that we had to look at the scalability, the security, and the analytics behind that. And our biggest thing that we always was thinking about was our customers. How did our customers need this or see this? And we had to proceed via that. And we needed to be able to scale because, as you will see in some of our case studies, is that our customers can have campaigns when applying for roles, or when they're advertising roles or expressions for interest. So they really need to be able to have their system that is very, very flexible, that can ramp up and come down where required to have the best customer experience. Can I go to the next slide, please? So the first case study is a customer in Queensland, and they are part of the health department. They have two streams of recruitment. The first stream is the normal recruitment of positions. The second stream is a very unique stream where they have to manage, I think, approximately 20,000 interns. And each intern changes position or role every 6 months to a year. So as you can gather is that this happens in two different phases and two different types. So all of a sudden is our systems have to run as normal and up ramp to be able to manage up to 16,000 applications that come into the system and get managed by a workflow engine that is very simple, but the workflow engine has been designed in a way that it allows the customer to build their business rules into it. For this customer, they have up to 100 different workflow steps, and at any time they have to be able to report on it. So having an environment that is got a full reporting package and having analytics sitting behind it is that is gold to the customer. They can see where they are throughout the process, see where candidates are. They will be able to see and have that experience down to a level of an individual level from within our product, but then being able to report to management and the board, they'll be able to summarize that into reports and be able to measure how they're proceeding and how it's actually been distributed. Can I please go to the next case study? Our second case study is in regards to a government department in New Zealand. This government department looks after emergency services, and they have built their model. They're using our product for the recruitment, but it's a unique case is as they have to go through quite a few different compliance steps, they actually use our analytics product to broadcast daily reports to key personnel, so the operational model keeps on proceeding through a recruitment cycle. So having a system that is up all the time, having a system that is able to be scaled, and having the backing of AWS behind us, who are able to manage our core systems and allowing us as an organization to be able to do what we do best, is a fantastic situation. Behind the scenes with this customer is that they're managing complex workflows, they're going through that, but having the diverse and the reporting engine, they're able to be able to provide the reports to the senior management, but also the people that are on the ground who are managing the recruitment processes. When they come into the office, they've got an email that has come from our system via Yellowfin, who have been able to say, okay, today you need to be looking at this scenario, this case, and proceed forward. What I'm going to do now is hand it over to Martin and to talk about engagements.
Great, thanks, Dean. And thanks, Adrian, also. So, as Dean said, the team in Acendre built a global software business, partnering both with us and with AWS. And what this allowed them to do, and this is kind of a super message, and thank you, Dean, it's allowing them to focus on what they know and do best, and that is talent management. So, if this is of interest to you, here's how we think about getting started with ISVs. The headline, most important thing for me to say is we know that the success isn't just about kind of getting our software into your hands and kind of happy days. It's why we've developed what we call, it's a set of lifecycle support services for ISVs. It's called Quick Start, and I've been asked to make sure this is not confused with a product of the same name from AWS. Quick Start for us, it was quite simply, it was born from our experience, the school of hard knocks. Working with hundreds of ISVs, we do now know the bumps in the road that you'll hit along the way, and we're here to help you. We're here to help you to develop using best practice, to deliver on time, and then also beyond just development and deployment, to then market and sell your analytics to maximize your customer adoption, to maximize your customer retention, and ultimately kind of your business revenue for your business. So summarizing now, so you heard from Adrian why analytics is moving the needle for software developers. You heard from Dean why the Yellowfin partnership for his company was a great buy versus build decision. And it is that combination of AWS for scalability and reliability and Yellowfin for productivity and competitive edge, which we believe can provide all of your embedded analytics needs. It's an embedded analytics platform built by software developers for software developers, and particularly for this audience, the great news is the headquarters is here in Melbourne. We've got huge experience, both companies. For Yellowfin, certainly a company recognized as a global specialist for ISV partnerships by both Gartner and Forrester. The Quick Start Services Framework, which I quickly introduced just now to support your success at every step. And last but not least, software, which is developed, as I said, obviously then tried, tested, and being aggressively used by Acendre and many others, and including Yellowfin Cloud. So in terms of kind of beyond this morning, I can see we're coming up close to our 30 minutes. A couple of calls to action. If you need more detail on embedding Yellowfin Analytics into your application, we've produced a very comprehensive 30-40 page white paper. There's a link there, and we'll send this through to all today's attendees straight afterwards. Likewise, on behalf of Adrian and the team at AWS, for more detail on their ISV and SaaS offer, again, there's another link to further information. So look out for those as a follow-up to today's session. I think we'll allow ourselves, if we can, I'm just going to move to the very last slide here. So it's a big thank you, first of all, for your time this morning. You can see on your panel a spot where you can put in some questions. So we'll open up the floor now to those and see if we can get a few of those answered. So let me just see what's coming through here. Very good. Okay, I can say, okay, first one coming through this is for you, Adrian, AWS. Why is AWS better than other cloud providers for big data, AI, and machine learning workloads?
Right, okay. So, well, actually, I mean, at Amazon, we've been doing machine learning and AI for a couple of decades, for probably close on 20 years. If you think about sort of our internal systems, a lot of those internal systems are driven by machine learning algorithms, actually. So, anything from path optimization in our fulfillment centers, or the recommendation engine that everyone knows on Amazon.com, or even we're building drones for our Primera initiative. There's a whole bunch of experience that we've gained over the last sort of 20 years building this stuff at scale. And so I guess our mission is to really share that with our customers and give them the flexibility and the tools that they need. If you look at that stack that I talked about, you can pick and choose low-level primitives, or you can build to high-level APIs. So I think it's really about the experience and flexibility there.
Good, Adrian. Thank you. While you were chatting, more have come through. One for you, Dean. Like this one. Why did you select Yellowfin versus other options?
Oh, good question. So analytics is one of our pillars. We aren't going to be in that business. So what we wanted to do was find a partner that we could tie our two development houses together to solve our customer problems. An organization that had the same core values and ethics, and wanted to have that passion to solve our customer problems. That's why we chose Yellowfin, and the 10 years, the relationship has been fantastic. And whenever we've had a problem, Yellowfin has always been there, putting up their hand to assist us and to solve that.
Fantastic, Dean. Thank you. Thank you. Kind words. Appreciate it. One more has come through, which I will take. This is about Quick Start, which I just briefly introduced. Looks interesting. How does it work in practice? Is the question. So probably got a couple of things. One is to say that Quick Start is modular. It's a set of services. So not one size fits all. The way we structure it and the way we engage is starting with a discovery session, and from that we determine the right mix of whether it's integration services or content development, sales and marketing. I talked about sales and marketing days for each ISV. So it's more of a la carte versus one size fits all. Typically 10 to 15 days is kind of what it will take, and that's, again, just give you the typical case, typically delivered over 30 to 60 days. And it's augmented by, we've got a lot of online, we've got a community, we've got Yellowfin University, all that training, video-based training online, and a wiki. one thing else, and I'll just sort of finish it off with something which is very special to AWS. A new addition for us to Quick Start is Yellowfin Cloud. That's from one of our partners called Toustone. So Yellowfin Cloud is a SaaS version of Yellowfin, and Toustone is an experienced both AWS and Yellowfin partner. So they can both manage Yellowfin for you if that was of interest, if you kind of want to outsource all of it, and or they'll take on longer term Quick Start development and integration contracts if you're looking to outsource that more generally. So hopefully that gives you a sense of that. Now, just looking at the clock, we've just ticked over our 30 minutes. I think that's the major questions for today. So I'm conscious about the time. We'll let people get back to their day jobs. Thank you again on behalf of today's host, Yellowfin and AWS, and on behalf of Adrian, Dean, and myself, wishing you a great day, and we'll speak to you soon.